All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's panel discussion on AI adoption and innovation. My name is Jason Milgram, and I'll be your moderator for this session. And I'm excited to be here today to discuss how AI is shaping industries, transforming business operations, and driving innovation. We have an incredible lineup of panelists, each with a wealth of experience in the AI and technology space, and I'm confident you'll find today's session very insightful. First, let me introduce our esteemed panelists. We have Shan, and I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your last name?
Thayyullathil.
Yes. So what I need there is the Teams Premiere to help me with that.
Just call me Shan, that's enough.
But Shan is a solution architect focused on AI and its impact on retail and consumer goods. Shan's deep expertise in industry-specific AI implementations has helped businesses transform their customer experiences and streamline operations. We also have Peter Shand. And Peter is a principal cloud solution architect focused on data services and AI. As a leader in leveraging Azure data services and AI for digital transformation, Peter has helped enterprises unlock new value from their data. And we have Roberto Mardeni, and he is an expert in enterprise application modernization and cloud solutions. His work with AI, containers, and platform as a service in Azure has empowered enterprises to overcome the challenges of modernization while balancing innovation with security. All right, so today's discussion will touch on AI trends, cloud data solutions, modernization efforts, and ethical considerations in AI. We'll also dive into how AI is being integrated into DevOps and what the future holds for AI-driven cloud architectures. So let's get started. I'll start with a general question for all panelists. How are you seeing AI impact enterprise operations and decision-making today? Are there any specific trends or technologies that you think are transforming industries? Who would like to start?
Sure, I can go first. Yeah, my name is Shan Thayyullathil. I'm a solution architect with Microsoft Industry Solutions Group, which is formerly Microsoft Consulting Services, right? So which is doing consulting work for our top, maybe Fortune 100 companies. I've been in this role for the last 11 years, and I've been working for several transformations over my career. I've been working in IT for the last 23 years, and it's interesting. I was talking to somebody earlier that hey, back in the days when all the servers were all on-prem, there was no cloud. Oh, there was a situation like that before, right? So, and I'm sure we all were there before, where everything was on-prem, right? So, and then the transformation is happening, and yeah, so I'm working primarily with our premier or top tier retail and consumer goods and manufacturing customers, and for the last 2 years plus 2+ years, I've been engaged with a lot of AI, generative AI projects, and what the trend I've seen, and it was interesting to see that some of the sessions we have seen, especially hearing from a lot of Oz customers here, right? So, and especially, Andre, and that is the theme that we see with all the top customers as well, right? So if you take the Fortune 1, right? You know who Fortune 1 is. I work a lot with them. They are thinking the same way as Andre was describing here, they are trying to infuse AI into everything that they are doing. When we think about retail customers, we think about the fancy websites, right? But there's a lot of things happening behind the scene with respect to optimizing the supply chain or transforming the internal operation, their internal employee management, a lot of things happening, and they are trying to look at how AI can help them improve their processes better behind the scene, right? So that's the kind of things, and there's a lot of things are happening in terms of an image processing, video processing, and interesting to see that your insurance demo here, and we are doing a similar project, very similar project with a top auto manufacturing company, where we are ingesting a lot of data from their manufacturing floor and getting some insight from that data, along with a lot of process documentation that they have. So same as your structured, unstructured construct, and building the solution together with a lot of reporting, and to basically to ease the power of, like, to make the life easier for their employees, better work-life balance, and yeah, so we are just getting started. So I think the opportunities are a lot more. So.
All right, great, thank you. And we have time for one more response on this.
Sure. My name is Peter Shand, and this feels like a normal Microsoft meeting for me, because I'm in data and AI, and I'm normally surrounded by app innovation people, and they tend to not give me a chance to speak, so I'm just going to just hug it while I have the opportunity to do so. All right? So I joined Microsoft about 3 years ago during COVID, so I don't know anybody on my team, right? I'm just starting to meet them in person, so but interestingly enough, a lot of my conversations in the past before sort of the Gen AI sort of thing, right, or were focused on traditional machine learning, things like forecasting, customer churn, all of those things that retail organizations are interested in, and we're using those types of tools to be able to help them solve those business challenges. With the advent of the LLMs and those innovations, maybe 80% of my conversations now are related to Gen AI. And customers are trying to solve many, many different types of problems. Kind of the hammer sort of searching and everything is a nail sort of a thing. So you also have to be wary of what use cases can actually create real value, right? And then try to target those and then solve those problems and then move on from there. But where I'm seeing a lot of focus is on hyper-personalization. A lot of my customers that I focus on within the Southeast are in the restaurant industry. And there are challenges associated with that particular industry. And these organizations are trying to differentiate themselves, right? They have many different silos of information related to the customers that they serve or their guests, and they want to put it all together and have that sort of one-to-one relationship with each customer. So how can we use AI to be able to personalize our offerings, understand exactly what this particular customer is interested from a menu perspective, from a preference perspective, and however they interact with that customer. So they're using Gen AI tools, pulling all of that information together. It was useful to see the demonstration of the Medallion architecture and Microsoft Fabric, and all of these tools together are allowing these organizations to be able to have that relationship or improve that relationship so that they can extract more value from each customer so that they have the best experience possible when they interact with that particular restaurant or brand or whatever it might be. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Peter. All right, this question is for Roberto. Roberto, when it comes to migrating and modernizing applications with AI, containers, and platform as a service in Azure, what are some of the biggest challenges you see enterprises facing, and how are they overcoming them?
Yeah, thank you, Jason. So obviously, there is always concerns in terms of how to even get started. Right? That's one of the major blocks that most organizations spend their time on. But the reality is that we provide a lot of building blocks, places to start with, from the most simplest scenarios to the most complex ones. So we provide a lot of guidance in terms of, for example, what landing zone to start with. And if you look for our documentation, you'll find that enterprise landing zone is a concept that incorporates into it all of the best practices from a security and governance perspective to get going, just to set up the foundation. But then on top of that, you can start looking into different quick start templates and things that allow you to get started quickly. One of the good things that I saw throughout the entire day and all the demonstrations was the use of managed services. What does that mean? It means it takes less time for you to manage operating systems, virtual machines, none of that nature. There's no infrastructure. It's just a managed service. You provide the configuration, it's good to go, and it's less hassle from an operational perspective. That's probably one of the biggest challenges. The other one is understanding that we give you the tools to add all of these security layers that you require, because that's also another concern, building solutions in the cloud. How do we go about it, and how do we start adding that security aspect? And the challenge is that security is a never-ending journey. So we understand that you're going to start with the smallest possible and then build on top of that. So that takes a lot of different tools in our platform for you to be able to accomplish that. And then the other thing that I will mention is that the complements that is from the standpoint of using the tools that allow the developers to get going quicker from the standpoint of the applications is the most mature managed services from an application and integration service standpoint. It allows them to do less to be able to get those capabilities and applications built faster. One of the other topics, and we're going to touch a little bit more later on, I guess, is on the developer productivity standpoint. So I think Andre did a good job of talking about code modernization with GitHub Copilot, and that today is one of our flagship products in terms of enabling developers to be able to do things quicker. It means that developers are still the ones that are leading in terms of what they're building, but now they have to spend less time typing, less time documenting, less time writing unit tests. At the end of the day, they are still in charge, and that's explicitly what we call all of our AI-assisted tools co-pilots, because it's still, there's a human that is in charge of making the changes, of introducing the features. That person is in control. But it just means that that person says, I want this. And the more details that you give it in terms of what you want, the better it is that what you're going to get back in return. So.
All right, thank you, Roberto. So this next question is for Peter. So Peter, data is the lifeblood of AI, and apparently clean data also is clean water. I love that tagline there. How are enterprise customers leveraging AI data services and AI together to drive digital transformation? Can you share a successful example where AI created value?
That's an excellent question, and I think one of our senior executives coined the phrase, an AI is only as intelligent as the data over which it reasons, right? So the importance of having a data strategy, having a data platform that can bring together all the silos of data from different places into a place where, and into a form where that data can be trusted, right? It needs to be validated, verified, all the V's associated with data to ensure that once you apply some of these technologies, the fun stuff to it, then it's able to make decisions based on accurate data, right? One example that I can sort of give you is it's publicly available, and it's CarMax, where there are sort of an automobile seller. I think everybody's familiar with CarMax. It's on the website, so I can quote them. They're a customer case study, and one of the things that's I guess CarMax leadership realized is that when customers are searching for these automobiles, are searching for something to purchase, the voice of their peers is far more important, or more essentially impactful than whatever their content developers could put on the website. So when you're searching and you're looking for information associated with a particular model, the reviews are extremely important. However, there might be thousands and thousands of reviews associated with a particular model, a particular brand, or whatever it might be. And what CarMax did was to use AI technology, Azure OpenAI specifically, to be able to summarize, which is a key use case for Gen AI in general, all of these reviews and create these 2-sentence or small paragraphs that summarize the views or the sentiment associated with that particular brand, and then put it alongside the descriptions that the customers would see while they're doing their searches, right? One of the things that was key there was that if they were to try and do that manually or using their content people to do that, apparently it would have taken 11 years for them to be able to do that. But with Azure OpenAI technologies and some improved process tools as well, part of the Azure platform, they were able to do that within a few months, right? And it improved the overall experience of those customers. So again, key to it, improving the customer journey, improving that experience. How do your customers connect with your organization? So using the tools to be able to do that, yeah?
Okay, thank you, Peter. Shan, this next question is for you. So your work with retail and consumer goods clients gives you a unique view of AI's role in transforming customer experience and operations. What are some of the most innovative AI solutions you have helped implement, and what lessons can other industries take from this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. So I work with some of the largest retail customers in the world and consumer goods. So I can talk about some of them without naming their names. So one of the customers, is the largest retailer. So their club arm of their retail services, they have this huge problem of an inventory reconciliation or an proper inventory management. So they bought this technology from this robotics company, and that scrubs the floor of the shop all the time. And it was while doing that, it was taking a lot of pictures, right? So of the aisles and bins and everything, and it sends the metadata and the pictures to the cloud. And we have the solutions that we built to do a lot of things using that data that we captured, whether it is price and accuracy, because sometimes the price signs over on a particular item is not misplaced or not the correct one or things like that. So we were able to identify whether it is the right price sign or not based on the actual metadata and the planogram compliance. So the big retailers are using a solution called planogram to plan how their shop floor is going to look like, and the actual floor should match to that to better place their inventory and things like that. So these were all traditional AI. So there's no Gen AI. So to give you some examples of Gen AI, so it's a very interesting scenario. It's very similar to some of the use cases we talked about here. It's a very big consumer and product goods company in the food area, and they have this aging population of key resources, right? So they are retiring soon. So they've been with the company for 40 years, 30 years, like that, and they have a lot of information on their head. I mean, some product line, there's one person who knows in and out of how the machinery work, how the recipe, what's the recipe, how to do all these things. And a lot of this information is unstructured. So it's written on notebooks and things like that. So we have to do an engagement to do a data strategy first. And of course, it's all with the data, right? So you have to ingest all that data and create some kind of a data lake, data repository for all those data that are relevant for this, and build an intelligent chatbot on top of it. And I've seen that you've demonstrated here earlier. So it's an avatar. So this person is retiring, is well known within the company. We made an avatar of that person. So you can do that. You saw that demo earlier that the lady was talking. So if you take a picture of a video of that person for maybe 2 minutes or so, and then you can make an avatar of that person. So we made an avatar of that particular person. He's talking as if he's doing in real time, right? So that's another story. And then, I talked about the auto manufacturing scenario where we use Gen AI to get insights from real relational and non-relational data at the same time, combining them to get the full insight. I know I have a lot, but I think we have a time constraint. So meet me during the break, and I can give you tons more.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Sean. All right. Next question, Roberto. So when introducing AI into the DevOps pipeline using Azure DevOps and GitHub, how can organizations balance the need for speed with maintaining reliability and security?
That's a great question. So obviously it starts with the story that we've built around GitHub Copilot mainly to enable developers in which ways that are far from just coding. It's not just about coding. When you have, for example, people that are working in automation, creating pipelines for deployment, creating scripts for performing tasks, whatever that task is, GitHub Copilot can assist with that because it has a very large model that has been trained on all of the public repositories in many different stacks. The beauty of it is that besides of it being a large model that has built on that large knowledge base, it also still complies with the rules from a security and compliance standpoint. So you have the options to say restrict it from matching public code if you have that risk adverse posture in your organization. So you can be ensured that whatever it generates is still not something that you're going to be sued for which we obviously we have the promise of protecting that copyright from a IP perspective. The other aspects as well is that whenever you use any of our products, especially GitHub, in terms of Copilot, you have the guarantees that the data that is part of your organization, your tenant, it is your data. It's not shared with anybody else. It's not used for training. That's another part. So once your code is part of our ecosystem, it is still isolated from all the other ones. So nothing is used for training models that are going to be used by other customers and potentially losing any IP that you might be at risk. Now, the other aspect of that is when you think about what the platform has to provide, we also have our advanced security product in the GitHub platform that supports both Azure DevOps and GitHub in the sense of protecting against secrets, figuring out if there's vulnerabilities in your code, not only finding them, but also fixing them. Fixing them from two different aspects. One of them is, well, any developer has at some point in time used libraries from third parties to create their software. Nobody creates anything from scratch. But the moment that you do that, you are exposed because you're using something that somebody else created. Now, detecting vulnerabilities and dependencies is a first-class capability in advanced security, but it's not only that, it's also about, well, those libraries themselves get updated. So advanced security allows you to find what are those that are at risk, tell you what are the options to mitigate them, and in some cases, or most of the cases, update them for you. So it updates that automatically, as well as any risk that is inherently introduced by the code that developers produce. So all of these things help you get going much quicker, much faster, but also with the safety that you're actually working with the best in class from the tools perspective. But it doesn't stop that because from a development standpoint, every day that they're working, they also have the option of saying, or asking for that matter, is my code the best it can be? Can it perform better? Can I do something better? And kind of like that picture, I like that, said it's kind of like having a senior architect next to you, teaching you, helping you. It does the same because most of the developers are afraid to expose that, hey, they don't have the skills, right? But it takes time to ramp up. This helps reducing that time.
All right, thank you, Roberto. All right, next question is for Peter. So where do you see the next big leap in AI-driven cloud architectures? What should companies be investing in today to be ready for the future?
I'll take the second part first. In terms of investment, I think the key is to invest in your data or in your data strategy. Tools like Microsoft Fabric that the Oz team demonstrated and showed and used to build real-world solutions are absolutely key for you to be able to manage that data so that you can start to extract the value from it using the AI tools. In terms of what I'm seeing, Shan mentioned planograms, and we're seeing, at least my team and working with some of my customers, some of the challenges associated with the sort of marrying both text and other forms of data, audio, video. So multimodal solutions are where I see a lot of focus occurring, right? So leveraging sort of those embedding models to vectorize both text data as well as image and video and audio, and taking advantage of that relationship between those modalities to be able to extract answers, right? So a simple example is a fashion retailer where you could ask a simple question of a chatbot. I need an outfit for the Oz AI event, and I want to go full Yoda because I'm a nerd. Then it's able to take that information, check the inventory, which may include pictures of a sport coats or whatever it might be, as well as metadata associated with where that particular item might be worn, and then based on that, offer a suggestion of an outfit for you. So that's, you don't necessarily have to go into the store or whatever it might be, and it simplifies your experience and how you engage and interact with that organization. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Peter. So I do have more questions I would like to ask, but I want to give a couple minutes to any of the audience questions. So any questions from the audience for the Microsoft team?
Hi. So I believe Microsoft partnered with OpenAI, and is that the sole AI tool that it's partnered with so far?
No. We have all kind of models. If you look at, go to the Azure portal and look at the models, and we have I think from all providers like Mistral or Facebook or I'm sorry, Meta or any kind of, you can choose the model you want to select. And it'll be hosted in Azure for you, and that's the advantage of Azure, right? So you can deploy those models under your subscription, under your network, under your supervision, and nobody's going to touch that.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the choice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excuse me if I don't use the right product names. I'm just getting started on some of your product offerings. I think there's a product called Azure Search, which is basically an implementation of LLM or chat based interface for company data content. Can that be trained, or can mailbox content be ingested if my mailboxes are on Microsoft 365? Can it look at mailbox content?
I think, I imagine it's possible. As Beverly mentioned before, the AI services are sort of models that are focused on doing a particular thing. AI search is part of that. It may be one of the more advanced services within that suite because it does multiple things, right? And it allows you to ingest data from different sources and then create an index, right? And that index allows you to do intelligent search, right? And in many cases, it forms the core of what we call an intelligent AI app, right? So whatever your source might be, if it's emails, if you dump those emails into some sort of blob storage or whatever it might be and ingest it into it, then you could essentially create an index and then, sort of create a workflow that would allow you to use an LLM to be able to query that index to extract answers from it. However, it would be remiss of me to say that within the M365 platform, there's a lot of capability already built in with journaling and stuff like that that may allow you to do more specific searching that is, contextualized for that particular, sort of scenario. But yeah, it could be done. All right?
And I'll just add to that quickly. I was involved in a project in which something like that was done. So it was before the tool now known as Azure AI Search. It had a former name. And this organization, through APIs, would feed all of their O365 data and then do sentiment analysis on it, because they were looking for potential abuses, whether it was coming in from the outside or coming from employee to employee or employee to customer. So the answer is yes. You can certainly develop that. I don't think it's not out of the box for tying it in yet, but it's very doable. We have time for one last question. All right, so I will ask this. What piece of advice would you give to technology decision makers who are starting or expanding their AI journey today? Who wants to handle that?
So I will say that be absolutely pragmatic, like Sal mentioned before. The LLMs are progressing, and a new model is being released every week almost. So by the time that you decide to make the choice of trying something, it might be already outdated. So take a very simple and pragmatic approach. Try to do things in small quantities, not something that is incredibly featured. Capability, small, monitor, add monitoring, add observability, make sure that you have a way of capturing feedback so that you understand, are you on the right track or not? Figuring out, do you really need an LLM? Not everything is answered by an LLM. There's other cases in which maybe an SLM work, or maybe you don't need an XLM anything. Maybe it's just AI service. There's other capabilities that exist in the platform to enable capabilities. You just have to get familiar with the platform. But keeping that small and something that you iterate over and start incrementing in capabilities later on, is gonna give you immediate benefit.
All right, thank you. And I think we are actually over time, but I want to add that we all know how to eat an elephant. It's one bite at a time. I think that absolutely applies to this. And of course, you would want to work with a trusted partner to help you with deciding which bites to take. But I'd like to give a big hand of applause for our Microsoft team here.